So, my name is Diego Ramirez. Three, two, one, go. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you. People who are watching this video about my final project, which is this comic book. But to get to who I am, my name is Diego Ramirez, and I'm a first year student at the University of Oregon, and I joined the first year interest group known as My Visual Story. The reason I chose My Visual Story is because of its a final project that is creating a comic book, which aligned to my interests of doing things such as my interest of animation, and I really like reading things like manga and stuff, you know, and which is reflected back to my final project, which is a manga styled comic book. So the reason My Visual Story would it helped me a lot and I chose it is aside from my interest crossing paths. It's also how My Visual Story offers courses in comic studies, and comic studies helped me focus and study on the composition and how exactly comics are arranged and composed in order to tell specific messaging. And in relation to that messaging, I use my knowledge from those courses to create my manga known as Stardust X. Stardust X is a manga. Long story short, it's a manga about this young adult girl going through a post-apocalyptic wasteland in which she has to defend herself against various enemies and stuff. And the name Stardust X is derived from the underlying environmental themes that I added into my manga. So and there's a certain scene that I drew that I'm gonna show later on as a sample, which is which this manga's underlying theme is environmental a crisis and a climate change. And how I display this climate change is with the name Stardust X is a name, and which is supposed to convey ideas of a radiation and because every time how the ozone layer it gets corroded, and then we get more exposed to the radiation from the sun. And since the sun is it's a giant nuclear reactor, every time we get hit by that radiation we get dusted by the sun, the star's dust. So stardust. Also, it could also mean things like a nuclear war. So a post, which conveys the post-apocalyptic theme. Well, not theme, setting. Because when nuclear bombs detonate, they release this highly radiated dust known as fallout. This fallout dust spreads and it radiates areas. So it can also be and nuclear energy stuff. So you get dusted by the dust from the stars or nuclear. So going back to to this comic, in the next it coming up in this in this jump cut that I'm gonna be showing a sample of my comic book that I had illustrated, which is going to show further on the themes of this comic. So displaying on the screen right now is a depiction of the no 3, 2, 1, go. Displaying on the screen right now is a sample of the of my manga known as Stardust X, and it's one of my favorite pages from the ones that I have created. In this a splash page, it shows my main protagonist Pris cooking up some her dinner in a cooking pot of which like a steam rises from the from the top of the of the pot, and that steam actually forms the panels of the following sequence. The following sequence involves, the first panel is of a voladle, or stir in a fishtail, and there's a mark displaying a movement of water. The second one is a panel focusing on the fish, of which it's supposed to set up the final a panel, which is a panel of the fish being split open on its side, revealing the skin folds up, revealing the meat under the skin. However, as this ties back to the themes I have explained earlier in the video of climate change and pollution and global crises and stuff, of which within the fish there is these these black a bead, basically they're supposed to be representing microbeads, microplastics trapped within the gills of the fish, and it's supposed to emphasize how as a result of over careless plastic consumption and being carelessly thrown away in the environment, and as a result, as those plastics break down and they float into the water, the fish absorb those plastics, and then that plastic goes back to us, back to our food, of which fish is also a major source of food, of meat, and aside from mammals. And here we are how as a result of a society's mistakes and a poor uptake of the environment, Pris has to eat a fish with microplastics trapped inside. Yeah. In addition, I really like the framing of the scene of the panels, because the curling of the fumes from the and smoke from the pot creates kind of this interesting look, in which it makes the panels look like bubbles bubbling from the pot itself. Yeah, so yeah, that's basically the most interesting illustration I did of Stardust Axe, of which while it not may seem that much it's a work in progress comic, in which later on, after this class, I'm gonna be working on it over time, and maybe I'll get to publish it one day, maybe, or maybe I'll just use it as a frame of reference for some future work, and I'll just post it somewhere to complete it a comic, have it much more professionally scanned. And so so this concludes my video presentation of my a final comic known as Stardust Axe. And and it was really fun joining and talking with my instructor about this manga. And it's pretty fun doing it this fall, despite the current circumstances. So yeah, so that marks the end of my video presentation, and well, thank you for watching. Goodbye.